Okay, this morning I'm going to do two films, neither of which I like very much. Oh, that's a bit of a giveaway, sorry about that. I'm going to do Equals, which is 2015, versus THX1138, which is 1971. And both are science fiction films in which nearly nothing happens and everything is very slow and visually simplistic. In Equals, people whisper, so I didn't hear any of what was said. Not that I can imagine it would have mattered. Visually, nothing appeared to happen. It stars Nicholas Hoult and Kristen Stewart. In Equals, the citizens are mentally stabilised, emotions removed. Disease is gone, almost, except for switched-on syndrome, which is where they get their emotions back, which is a current threat in the film. Equals has a lot of interestingly complex textural sound. Now, if you're interested in sound synthesis like I am, there's some really deep complexity in the sound. And in common with most 21st century films, or television productions indeed, some amount of sound is present to your ears at all times throughout. That's just a current way things are done. Equals was shot in Japan and then in Singapore. In THX1138, well, pretty much the same. Nothing much gets spoken and nothing appears to happen. THX1138 was the first film George Lucas directed, and it actually started out as a student film of his. The very first version of THX1138 he did at college as a student film, and it was 15 minutes long. Then he made a proper film out of it. Again, it's a dystopian future. No detail, just plain white walls. Emotions are suppressed in the population through drugs. The soundtrack score to THX1138 was conducted by Lalo Schifrin. Now there's a good thing. Both of these films portray emotionless and controlled futures in which the people are docile and unempowered, oppressed by a layer of organised governance. I think the good thing about both films is that they are science fiction. And sci-fi has an amazingly consistent track record of predicting things quite incorrectly. Almost no sci-fi has ever gotten it correct, or anywhere near, with perhaps the single exception of small parts of 2001 A Space Odyssey, if you look at it in a certain way. Those might have been iPads. And after all, Arthur C. Clarke did come up with the idea of the communications satellite, which is, in my opinion, the single most impactful invention of the 20th century, marking the definite tearing away from modernism into a temporary period of postmodernism, because the world wasn't at all ready for what should have come after modernism, and indeed postmodernism, and we still aren't, and we're in it now. We're in whatever came after now. Now, the communication satellite was even more important than the telephone in forming a single and instantaneous gestalt of what humans are thinking about now, and by extension, what the human race is feeling now. That's how important I think it is. Well, anyway, let's go back to the films. Given that both Equals and THX1138 present numbingly docile and unhappy futures, I'd say it's a fair bet that the future won't be that at all. In fact, more sci-fi should be made depicting exactly the future that we don't want. That will keep us safe. Now, if you want films that depict a fictional future, which then turns out to become our real future, you have to look at comedy, not sci-fi. Having said that, if you like films with a lot of plain white, sterile decor, then these are the films for you. There are a lot of people out there that really like Equals, and equally, a lot of people liked THX1138. So, Equals 2015 versus THX1138 1971. Thank you very much.